Ba-doo-da, ba-bum, ba-doo-da, ba-doo-da, ba-bum, ba-boom, boop, boop, bop, bop, boo-doo, boop, bop, boop, boop, bop, bop, boop, 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 bop, boop, 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 bop, bop, boop, 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 bop, boop, bop, boop, bop, boop, 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 bop. Brrrr, back up, back up, back up, back up, brrrr, go back up, back up, back up, brrrr, go back up, go back up, brrrr, go back up, brrrr, go back up. Yeah, well, my name is Warren Richardson, and I do a lot of different things actually. I'm a musician, more specifically a bass player and singer. I am also a teacher of music, being percussion music and rhythm and basic movement in the school system for the past 7 years. I am a voiceover artist, which if someone doesn't know what a voiceover artist is, it's a person who is the voice behind a product or service in which businesses or organizations render or have available for the public. And so, yeah, for example, if you have Ajax or Mr. Proper or something, the voice behind the product. I do body percussion as well, which definitely is a form of expression and with rhythm and music, using your body as your instrument to create beats and rhythm. And I began playing bass and singing actually because of old records in the house that my mom and dad had from various artists, from Stax Records, from Motown, from different record labels, be it Wilson Pickett or James Brown or some other, certainly Temptations, the list goes on and on. On my father's side of the family, everyone plays, all of my aunts and uncles play bass guitar or play guitar and bass guitar and or sing. So it was very natural for me to begin to learn how to play. And I learned to play bass guitar by watching. Without any instruction, and after 1 year or so I just picked up the bass and started learning songs, and it came very natural to me. So from the time I did my first gig at age 11, I just started playing with a lot of local bands and getting experience in this way. I never went to a college or university for music because my college was playing in 3 or 4 bands for a very long time. It seemed as time went on, I was able to get in better bands or just to be able to have the opportunity to play with some very high quality musicians, which really raised my level of playing. Very interestingly enough, the first song that I remember singing at age 4, I heard it on the radio the other day, and it took me way back. I'm not going to say how many years, so I won't tell you how young I am, but that was the first thing. So coming up to speed, my first actual performance was with my dad's band years ago. I was 8 years old and the singer had laryngitis. So they asked me to step in because they knew I could sing some Wilson Pickett, James Brown stuff, screaming. At age 8 I could do that well. So the time I got to New York to play with Just Us, and even then with the experience I had, it was enough, but I learned so much more in Just Us because the repertoire was different. The atmosphere was different. I learned so much with that band in terms of music itself, in performance, and singing as well. When I came to Europe in '98, and I was still playing with different groups, and I'm a substitute bass player for a lot of bands, and that's a good experience as well, just to be able to learn different music and play with different musicians. And so this experience is all integral in growth and to develop into the person I am musically and personally as well, and characteristically. And it's fantastic. Well, I laugh because I never thought I'd make it to Stomp actually, but I got into Stomp being that I was living in the New York area, and I was, to give you some more details about it, I was playing with this band, Just Us, as I mentioned before, and I was not liking the direction the band was going in. It was becoming more of a wedding band. Communication was getting bad, and things were just kind of loose. And so I was looking for an alternative. So there's a magazine in New York called Backstage Magazine, which lists all of the Broadway shows and whatnot for auditions for actors, musicians, whatever. The first thing I opened up and see that Stomp had open auditions. So I said, well, I had just seen the show 8 months before then, and I thought it was really cool. So I said, well, let me go and check it out because maybe this is something I can do. And so I did go and sacrifice the jobs that I had in New Jersey as a lifeguard and working at UPS to call in and say, hey, I can't make it. So I went to the audition. I waited for 3 hours outside in the hot sun in New York with a line of people wrapped around the block twice. It was more than 2,000 people auditioning for the show at this time. So what happened is waited after 3 hours, I got to the woman with the list at the door, and I said, yes, I'm here to audition. And she said, well, we're done for the day. Can you come back the next day? So I said, oh, interesting. Over more than 1,500 people auditioned for the show. So with that particular group in my generation, they took 7. This normal training period is 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So they needed people in the show, so I had 3 weeks, and I was in the show in New York at the Orpheum Theater for 1 month, and then I got sent out to the U.S. tour. Now it's a show where you need time to train. It was a crash course, but it was good in one way, and it was a great experience dealing with Stomp. Just from then until now, the experience is fantastic. Most of the time, songs would come to me if I hear a sound from the street. For example, I can hear the trash truck come by and go boom, boom, ba-da-ba-doom, or something like this. It can be anything from a sound that I hear to something that I see, whether it be the trees blowing, the way the leaves blow on the tree, or a rock that someone might throw and the way that it hits the ground. It can be a number of things. It could be something that I smell. To write music is something, the creativity process can start with any of the senses. Also, I've written quite a bit of music through dreams. A lot of times that I will have a dream, and sometimes it will be a beat that will come to me, and a lot of times it's a whole composition that will come. In terms of the actual work of laying down a song, of course, normally you start, it's just like landscape. Normally I lay down a drum beat, and then a bass groove, and then a guitar or keyboard or something on top, and end with the vocals. And then to mix it, of course, once again, it's just like you put all the ingredients together to make a cake, and then you stir it up and put it in the oven, and when it pops out, hopefully you have a good product, and if not, you go back to the drawing board. So it's a never-ending process. The problem is a lot of times things are not finished because we're such perfectionists, but excellence is going to weigh over perfection, because if you have something good and really good, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's good, you'll be able to touch someone through your expression of what you have created, and that makes a difference. I like the fact that this all derives from the expression and what someone puts behind the art to be able to touch me and touch other people emotionally, or in a positive way that can have an impact on someone's life. Certainly, just the vibration of art. I like also the fact that most people in the art world there's a certain camaraderie, or there's a certain friendly atmosphere. It speaks. It's like an international language, and even if it's something that you don't particularly like, certainly it will have some type of impact on you. this learning and growing process that I like about the arts, in that there's never really a pinnacle. There's never a pinnacle in terms of like, I know all I need to know and I don't need to do anymore. It has no age barrier. It's very just diverse in terms of what it is and how it affects us. It's certainly an essential and an integral part of our lives. Man, that's a tough question for me, because I've been singing and playing so long, and it's not a whole lot that I don't like about the arts. It can be a lonely entity sometimes, especially if you're a visual artist or if you're a songwriter, because when you're sitting on your own and doing something, you don't have any critics or anyone there to say that it's good or bad until the final product is done. There's the exposure to substances, whether it be drugs or alcohol, but that can happen without being an artist. But it just so happens to be in the artist world, this type of thing seems to be commonplace. A lot of people will be psychologically or emotionally touched if something is rejected or not liked in terms of what they produce. So a lot of people will turn to drugs or turn to alcohol or turn to other vices that is a pitfall and is a negative side of it. There's a lot of false illusions in being an artist, especially people who have big aspirations for being famous or want notoriety or want to be socially accepted or something like this. It is certainly another thing that can bring you to a point of rendering yourself just in a downward spiral. It's so integral and important for us as a human race to have arts, and without it, that's negative. That's negative. Art is love. Expression. Art is life. Creativity. Everything.